All right, what's good, guys? Today we're on part 16 of the steroid boot camp. So we're coming in hot here, part 16. Nutrition and training during PCT, keeping strength and mass, something that a lot of people bypass during their post-psychotherapy. You have to understand during a PCT, you're going to lose a lot of strength. You're going to lose that drive. You still will have drive, but you're going to lose a lot of what you had on the blast. That's why it's important to understand this. And it's important to synergize your training and your diet to that PCT and what you're going to be feeling like. So it is Halloween. Happy Halloween, guys. But we are going to get into this, and I'm going to crank out the next parts of these very quick here in the next few days. The boot camp will be done. So this one's very important. Do not bypass this episode. I know it's not the most intriguing, but you still have to understand how this works so that you keep the gains. You don't want to hop on a cycle and then lose everything. A lot of people do this, okay? And then they just keep bouncing back on cycle because they don't want to lose the feeling and the look that they had on the blast. You can keep a majority of the look that you had on the blast as long as you understand this specific section of the boot camp. So let's hop right into this, okay? That's why it's important. Part 16, nutrition and training during PCT, keeping strength and mass. Now, one thing I want to preface here actually is that if you are cruising, just keep in mind, you can keep 90 to 100% of the gains that you had on cycle. You can keep the exact look that you had while cruising. This means that you're going to be taking TRT instead of PCTing off and taking a post-psychotherapy to come off cold turkey off everything. But this is specifically for post-psychotherapy, which you should be doing if you are brand new to this shit. So that's the context for this section as well. Now, during a PCT, this is the introduction, your body is recovering from hormonal suppression. When you're on a blast, you are going to be suppressed in full. So nutrition and training must shift to preserve gains while avoiding overstress. Focus on maintenance rather than aggressive bulking or cutting to support hormone rebound without taxing the system. Now, this is something that's going to come very easy, but you don't want to push it during a PCT. You just want to focus on maintaining what you got on the cycle. Don't try to keep gaining because chances are you're not going to gain any mass during the PCT. You're just planning to preserve what you gained, and then you're going to make sure your body flushes out everything. It's back to normal via your labs. Your hormones are back to normal, and then you can hop on another cycle to start pushing it aggressively again with whatever you're trying to do. But right now is just a maintenance phase. You want to prioritize your nutrient-dense foods, adequate calories, and recovery-focused workouts to minimize muscle loss and strength drops. So when it comes to strength, you will lose strength. That's just a given when it comes to post-psychotherapy, but you want to mitigate that as much as possible. And same goes with the muscle loss. Like, yes, you are going to lose some muscle on the PCT. That is to be expected. You shouldn't feel demotivated because of this. It's going to happen, but you just want to mitigate it as much as possible so you keep as much gains as you possibly can from the cycle. You want to track your progress weekly with body measurements, weight, and strength logs to adjust as needed. Always be data-driven. As I always say in this boot camp, always be data-driven. That's how you win. So you always want to track your progress. Now, when you're tracking this during the PCT, you are going to see everything going down, okay? Your weight, if you were trying to pack size, it's going to start going down. If you're trying to cut and it's going to start going up during the PCT, okay? That's just how it works. Strength, it's going to go down regardless. And body measurements, it's just gonna be weak all around, okay? But again, don't be demotivated. Just track these things and understand how the cycle's working. And it's like the stock market, okay? The S&P, it's gonna be going like this, but the upwards trajectory is always there. It's always gonna be going up, but there are gonna be times where it starts going down slightly, okay? But the trajectory is always up. That's how you have to look at this enhancement journey, okay? Because you're going to see crazy ass results in the cycle. And then when you come off, you're not going to have that peak look that you had on the blast, but you still are going to have gained a shit ton of muscle or shreds from before the blast. So it's going to be going up and then maybe a little bit down, but then it goes back up again, okay? It's a good way to look at this. Now, you always align with your blood work. If your cortisol is higher, test is low, emphasize rest and anti-inflammatory foods. Always align everything with your labs. That's why you have to get this done as consistent as possible so you have as much data in front of you as you possibly can. Without the data, you're going to lose with this game, all right? Next up is caloric intake strategies. You want to start at your maintenance calories or a slight surplus, so about 200 to 500 above TDEE to prevent catabolism during low test phases. Now, this is very important. When you have lower test, it's obviously going to be a lot more difficult to pack size. It's going to be more difficult to do anything. You're going to feel less motivated. You're not going to have that aggression in the gym. And when it comes to your calories, okay, your body doesn't have the same metabolism if you're trying to cut. It's going to be a little more difficult to shred. If you're trying to gain, it's going to be a little more difficult to gain because your body doesn't have that excess protein. So this is happening in your muscle. So you always want to make sure that you start your maintenance calories or a slight surplus, just to preserve everything. Okay. So gradually reduce if fat gain occurs, but avoid deficits below 10% to protect muscle mass. Very important too. Okay. So if you start gaining fat, obviously you want to reduce your calories, but it's a very happy medium here because if you reduce them too much, you're going to start losing muscle at a rapid rate. So it's a happy medium, and you have to figure this out for yourself after the first cycle. This is really important. You track all this data just so you understand your maintenance calories, the proper amount of food and proper macros you should be intaking to preserve everything you gain from the cycle. This is where you track it so that you know what you should be doing here. Okay. Use macro tracking. Aim for 2 to 2.5 grams of protein per body weight, or per kilogram of body weight. Okay. 4 to 6 grams of carbs per kilogram and 0.8 to 1 grams of fats per kilogram to fuel recovery. Okay. You can do the math here when it comes to kg and pounds. Typically it's going to be 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight you have, or 1, 1.2, 1.5 is going to be ideal. You can just do the math here, separate out kilograms and pounds, and you'll get the right number for you. Okay. So you want to incorporate calorie cycling as well. So higher carbs on training days is very crucial. Lower on rest days to mimic natural hormone fluctuations. Now this isn't mandatory, but it is optional and it is advised. Okay. So higher carbs on training days always. So you get that excess glycogen, and then lower on rest days. This will mimic your natural hormone fluctuations. Again, not mandatory, optional, but advised. You want to monitor your appetite as well. PCT can cause lethargy or cravings. Use fiber-rich foods to stay satiated without overeating. Crucial as well. Okay. Because during the post-cycle therapy, keep in mind also, I always say this shit, but a post-cycle therapy is toxic on your lipids. So in general, you're not going to feel the best. You're already coming off a cycle where you felt like a fucking god, and you're coming off, your test is getting lowered. Okay. All around, your strength is going down. Your motivation is going down. On top of that, this shit is toxic on your body. So your body's already going to be working overdrive to even process these compounds. So overall, it's just not a pleasant experience. So you have to keep this in mind that this can possibly happen with lethargy or cravings. All right. Next up here is going to be macronutrient breakdown for recovery. So protein, high quality sources like lean meats, always. I want to make this point very clear. I said this earlier, but always make sure that you're prioritizing whole foods over supplementation. A lot of people think that taking like the serious mass powders and these bulking powders and supplementing your nutrients for these random supplements, that's not the best way to do this. A lot of the ingredients in here, the reason why it's cheaper to do this is because they have horrific ingredients in these supplements. They're not the best. They're the lowest possible quality ingredients that you can possibly intake, and that's why it's so cheap. Always prioritize whole foods. You're going to see amazing results taking whole foods. Your body's going to feel excellent, especially with organic foods, lean meats and stuff. Your body's going to feel great. You're going to feel energized. You're going to push yourself harder in the gym, and you're just going to feel better. Okay. You're going to be more motivated. You're going to be able to discipline yourself a lot easier by doing this. Food is everything with the way you feel mentally, with the way you look. It comes down to what you're putting in your body. If you're putting shit in your body, you're going to look like shit. All right. So I always think you should be doing this. Okay. So high quality sort of lean meats, eggs, dairy, whey protein is excellent, but it has to be pure whey protein. And you shouldn't just be intaking whey protein to hit your protein goal. You should be eating a lot of lean meats, eggs, stuff like that. Okay. Dairy too, to support muscle repair. Include BCAAs or EAs if intake dips. This is optional, but it helps. Okay, it does help. Carbs, complex carbs, oats, rice, potatoes, again, whole foods for energy and glycogen replenishment, time around workouts to boost performance. You should always be doing this. Carbs is the cheapest source of for your groceries. It's the cheapest thing you can possibly get. But it still is important to have quality carbs. You don't want shit carbs. You don't want to be fucking downing cereal and ramen all day, right? Just make sure that it's quality whole carb sources. Oats, rice, potatoes, perfect examples. All right, fats, healthy fats. It's very easy to intake a lot of fat, okay? But you want to make sure they're healthy fats. Avocados, nuts, fish oil for hormone production. These are very good examples of healthy fats. Emphasize omega-3s to reduce inflammation. Omega-3s you should always be taking as a supplement as well, your omega-3 fish oil. Very important. But if you can get that in your own diet with your nutrients that you're intaking with your whole foods, great. If not, it's very difficult to do that. If not, supplement it, okay? Supplement it. Fish oils, I take fish oils every day. You should be doing that too. Micronutrients, boost zinc, magnesium, vitamin D via supplements or food, oysters, spinach, sunlight to aid testosterone recovery. Now, these specific nutrients, these are good to supplement, okay? When it comes to like your macros and stuff, you don't want to be taking in supplementation for that. Whole foods will legitimately give you everything you need, even when it comes to these supplements, but it can be difficult if you're trying to follow a specific diet to intake every single supplement you need or every single nutrient. So that's where the supplements come into play, okay? It's not a bad thing to take supplements. It's actually a good thing when it's these specific items. When it comes to like magnesium, if you have elevated RBC, microhemoglobin, nattokinase, vitamin D, C, whatever the fuck it is, right? It does come in play to take these as supplements, and it will actually aid you. You just don't want to take too much, of course. But these are definitely good for you to be taking daily, and it will aid testosterone recovery as well. So you want to avoid extremes, no keto or ultra low carb diets, as they can hinder LH and FSH signaling during PCT. It's very common as well when you're cutting, when you're shredding down. Of course, if you're keto or you're intaking a very low amount of food, it's gonna fuck with your hormones. Okay, that's why prepping for a show, putting yourself in a very harsh caloric deficit can cause hormone fluctuations. It causes you to have low testosterone, and it can make you feel like shit. That's why everyone feels like shit when they're cutting. When they're having to prep for a show, because they're in these ultra low caloric deficits. So don't do this while you're on your PCT. Just maintain. Don't try to push yourself to these extremes during this phase. Literally just maintain, and you're going to see great results, and you will be able to keep the majority of what you gained from the cycle, whether it was your gains, muscle mass, or the shredding down that body fat, okay? Next up here, supplementation during a PCT. So you want to continue your cycle supports like your liver aids, NAC, TUDCA, very crucial if you're taking any orals. NAC and TUDCA are excellent. Milk thistle as well is a great option for that. Joint support, glucosamine, I always fuck that one up. Is a great option for joint support as well. Cardiovascular help is CoQ10, fish oil, anything like that is going to be excellent for your cardiovascular system. You always want to be taking these when it comes to like NAC and TUDCA, liver support, joint support. If you're on like MAST or Winnie or something that's going to dry you out, that joint support is great for the cycle. For your liver aids, same thing. Okay, if you're taking orals during the cycle, if your liver is getting stressed, you want to make sure you're taking these. But when you're off, you're not taking the orals, there really isn't any point to take it, but that's why your labs are so important, okay? You want to make sure all this stuff is in range, and if you're coming off cycle and these factors are still messed up, then definitely still take these supplements. But again, I don't think there's a reason to be taking this without the problems that are causing you to take them, right? But you definitely want to take these post-cycle. Whatever you're taking on the cycle, just continue taking that post-cycle during the post-cycle therapy until you're fully back to baseline. You also want to add recovery boosters. Creatine for strength maintenance is excellent to take during a PCT. I know creatine gets a lot of heat. I personally don't think that this is even necessary at all. If you're natty, which no one here is natty, or you are natty, but you're trying to hop on a blast, creatine's overhyped, it's overmarketed. You're not going to see crazy results taking creatine. It's just not like that. It can be used for some cognitive benefits, sure. But for strength maintenance, specifically during a PCT, it actually can be beneficial. But not for what it's marketed out to be, that you're going to see crazy ass results in 30 days. You're not taking creatine, okay? But it can help you with strength maintenance. Beta alanine for endurance and adaptogens like ashwagandha for stress reduction. Again, this is all optional, but it can help, okay? Hormone-friendly subs, D-aspartic acid, tribulus for mild test support, but don't rely on them over serums, of course. Serums are going to be everything when it comes to your PCT. So hydration and electrolytes, you want to increase your water to 4.5 liters a day with added sodium and potassium to combat PCT bloat or dehydration. Very important. Hydration's everything, even on the cycle, even off the cycle. Hydration is literally everything. You will stay healthy by doing this. It's going to flush everything in and out of your system. It's really good to stay hydrated at all times. It is going to help combat that bloat, okay, or dehydration, whatever it is. If you're bulking, okay, you're trying to keep the size, it can prevent bloat, dehydration if you were cutting, right? Cycle off stimulants. Limit your caffeine to avoid adrenal fatigue. Use only pre-workout if energy crashes. All right, so this is very important as well. If you're taking high doses of caffeine, high doses of pre, you probably want to limit this, okay, just to avoid that fatigue. But again, this is optional. Everyone is going to react differently, so just keep that in mind. Next up here, training adjustments in PCT. So reduce volume by 20 to 30%. This is going to be very easy to do. You probably will just end up doing this even without trying, right? Because it's just going to be a lot more difficult after you've seen how it feels to be on cycle and push yourself and be aggressive as fuck in the gym. It's going to be difficult to go back to normal before, okay? Because now your body's used to working in overdrive. It's going to be very difficult. So this probably will just happen automatically, but you should be doing this regardless. Shorter sessions, 46 to 60 minutes is fine to prevent overtraining while your hormones normalize. And you also have to really keep in mind, you don't want to keep pushing it. It's going to be difficult, but you don't want to keep pushing because you can risk getting injured as well. When you come off, you're going to, again, you feel like a god when you're on, okay? A lot of feelings from maybe something was tweaking in your shoulder, maybe your chest, whatever it may be, is suppressed. Those feelings are suppressed on a cycle. But when you come off, everything's going to be a lot more pronounced. If you had some type of shoulder pain or something, you're really going to feel it when you come off. So it's kind of is a good thing coming off, so you can gauge what exactly was happening on the blast and what was getting suppressed with your actual feelings. But you do want to make sure that you're aware of this, okay? Because if you keep trying to push it, you can definitely get injured during a PCT. You want to focus on compound lifts only, okay? Majority of the time, not only, but majority of the time, your compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, benches at 70-80% of cycle max to maintain neural drive without burnout. Very important. Incorporate deload weeks as well. Every 2 to 3 weeks, you want to drop the intensity to 50 to 60% for active recovery. Always do this. I always have my clients do deload weeks. It's very important to do this just to get that recovery in, okay? I have clients that literally work out 7 days a week against what I fucking say because I don't think you should do this. You definitely need those recovery phases in there, like 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off, whatever it is. You need those recovery days to fully recover. I have clients going 7 days a week just because that's them. That's their program. That's what they're going to do. So for them specifically, those deload weeks are very crucial. And even if you are taking those rest days, deload is absolutely mandatory, okay? You want to prioritize form and recovery. Use longer rest periods, 3 to 5 minutes, and include mobility work to avoid injuries. Very important too. Always want to make sure you're perfecting your form. Track progressive overload lightly. Aim for small PRs and reps, not weight, to build confidence without strain. So you still want to push it, but obviously you're not going to be hitting anywhere near your PRs that you're hitting on cycle, but you still want to progressively track these things lightly. All right. Next up here is going to be cardio and recovery protocols. Limit cardio to 2 to 3 sessions a week. Low intensity, steady state, like walking or cycling for 20, 30 minutes to control fat without cortisol spikes. You still want to do cardio. You always have to do cardio regardless. Whether you're off cycle, whether you're on cycle, always get used to doing this. It's going to majorly benefit you doing this in the long run with your cardiovascular system. You absolutely have to do this. Avoid HIIT, high intensity, can exacerbate fatigue. You want to save it for post-PCT when hormones stabilize. Very important as well. Okay, high intensity, you do want to save this for post-PCT. Don't push it too hard on the post-psychotherapy. Just focus on maintenance. I'm going to keep saying that shit so that it dials in your head. Focus on maintaining during your post-psychotherapy. That's all. It's your only priority. That's all you have to worry about during this short period of time is just focus on maintaining, okay? You want to emphasize sleep as well, 8 to 9 hours a night with routines like blackout curtains or melatonin if insomnia hits, because it probably will. Okay, you're going to be sleeping like a baby on cycle if you were doing your cycle correctly. Sleep comes very simple when you're on a blast, unless you're taking like Trendsomnia is very common, right? But if you were doing the cycle right, you're working out like crazy. You just sleep like a fucking baby if you're doing it right. When you're coming off, you're not going to have this. So the blackout curtains can help. Melatonin, I don't really recommend you do this because then you might get dependent on it, and you shouldn't be dependent on a compound like this to sleep, but it can help temporarily during these times when you do get insomnia, if you possibly do, or for whatever reason you run into that shit, right? Active recovery days as well. Yoga, light swimming, or foam rolling to enhance blood flow and reduce soreness, a very good option as well. Listen to your body. If your joints ache or motivation wanes, take extra rest days. There's no guilt in prioritizing recovery, okay? Always listen to your goddamn body. If your body's telling you, look, bro, I'm fucking burnt. I can't even lift 50% of what I could lift on cycle. It's probably a sign that you should be recovering, that you should take the goddamn day off. Extra recovery days, there's no hurt in it. Yes, it's good to be disciplined and follow a structured program, but during your post-cycle therapy specifically, if your body's literally telling you, look, bro, I can't do this shit, and you know for a fact, like, you are disciplined, you're following your program, don't use this as an excuse not to get the pump in, okay? But if your body's legitimately telling you, like, this is just, I have to take a rest day, then take the goddamn rest day, bro. Like, it doesn't hurt. But again, don't use that as an excuse to just be a lazy piece of shit. Just when your body's absolutely telling you have to recover, you have to fucking recover. Listen to your goddamn body, okay? Next up here, common pitfalls and fixes. So muscle loss, you want to counter with higher protein and creatine. If severe, reassess your PC efficacy via blood work, okay? Because your post-psychotherapy should be boosting your natural hormone production back into range so that you should be keeping what you fucking gained from the blast, right? If you're losing muscle at a severe rate, your PCT is probably not effective. You're probably staying crashed. If your hormones are crashed from the cycle, okay, which should happen, okay, your natural hormone production, but then they stay crashed afterwards and your PCT is not effective, this will cause you to lose like 75% of the muscle you gained. So you have to make sure your PCT first off is dialed properly. Go watch the previous segment of the camp. I'm assuming you have if you're watching this, but just know how to properly set up your post-cycle therapy so this doesn't happen to you. Strength drops as well. That's normal. Completely fucking normal in a PCT. Don't think it's not normal. It absolutely is. Focus on technique and gradually ramp up as libido and energy return. Fat gain. Tweak carbs down and add LISS. Monitor estrogen levels if bloating persists. Overtraining signs. Fatigue. Poor sleep. Implement forced deloads, like I mentioned earlier, in stress management, like meditation. Now, meditation is a great tool. A lot of people don't do it, but I think that it is excellent, okay? Just for stress management to reduce cortisol. Overtraining is a slippery slope when it comes to PCT, okay? Because, of course, you're going to feel like shit. You're going to be more weak. You're already going to be fatigued. You're already not going to be sleeping as good, probably as optimal, right? But it's very obvious when it's overtraining because your body, it's just literally going to be non-functional at this point during your post-psychotherapy. So understand the difference between overtraining and just your natural symptoms of a PCT so that you know, okay? But when your body's telling you, look, we need a fucking day off, take the goddamn day off. That's really what you should be listening to, just your body when it comes to overtraining. It's all you can do. People can tell you this, that, but everyone reacts differently. Everyone's body's different. Listen to your own body. You're going to be good. Long-term mindset. View a PCT as a reset. Use it to refine natural training habits for better future cycles. This is what I always say. Okay, a PCT is a very short temporary amount of time, a month, 2 months max. Yes, when you're going through it, it feels like shit. It feels like the end of the world. It feels like such a long period of time. It's not, bro. It's not, bro. It's 2 months out of your whole life, okay? And this period is literally going to do everything. It's going to help you maintain what you gained. It's going to tell you, look, maybe I don't want to do this shit anymore. I don't want to keep taking cycles in the future. You can think about this during the post-cycle therapy, and while your natural hormone production is getting back up in a range, you can think about this, okay? And this goes back to the long-term mindset, right? if you're not going to do this for the long haul, you don't want to blast and cruise. You want to post-cycle therapy. Think about it during the PCT. Think, was this worth it? You can think about everything. Go back, look at all your data during this post-cycle therapy. Figure out what you're going to do next. It's a very important thing that you're doing here, okay? It's not just restoring your natural hormone production, which is the main purpose of it, but it's also going back and reviewing everything you did during the cycle. That's what you do during this time frame, okay? You look at everything. How can I do this better next time? How can I mitigate this, that? Look at the data and make sure you're doing all of this properly, and you're really going to set yourself up for success with your future blasts. Monitoring progress and when to adjust. Weekly check-ins, weigh-ins, photos, biofeedback, energy, mood to gauge retention, data. Okay, data, absolutely crucial. I have all my clients do weekly check-ins. Always do this, right? Mid-PCT blood work, check your test, your cortisol and lipids, adjust nutrition if markers are off. Very, very important. It's not absolutely mandatory. Now, I know I always say get pre, mid, and post-blast bloods. That's pre-cycle, midway through the cycle, once the compounds are peaked, and after the cycle, once the PCT is done. Now, what I would recommend if you're able to do this is get a blood work done when you're done with the cycle before the PCT, and then get one done mid PCT and after. My clients that will go a little overboard on labs get a pre, mid, and post blast labs done, and pre, mid, and post PCT labs done. This is important just to know, okay, what the PCT is doing. It's not absolutely crucial. At the end of the day, if you're trying to do the bare minimum, then just get it done once the PCT is done, okay? But I would get your bloods done before your post-cycle therapy just to know what to deploy. But this is an absolutely crucial. It does help. It does help. The more data, the better, okay? So if gains slip excessively, you want to consult a coach or doc. Consider extending the PCT or bridging with natural boosters. Don't consult a doctor, okay? Because doctors have no fucking clue what they're talking about when it comes to this shit. I'm going to say, or pro, okay, /clinic. That's what I really meant to type here. If your gains slip excessively. So you should, you want to figure out, okay, if again, going back to my previous point, if your muscle is just completely getting drained and you're losing a shit ton of muscle and you're seeing it before your very eyes every day, the PCT is not working properly. That's all you have to know about that. And you probably should be consulting someone, a professional at this shit, someone you know has experience, or a coach, or whatever the fuck you do, just so that they know and they can look at your labs and be like, hey, okay, this is happening. It's very obvious. Look what's happening here. Your PCT, maybe it was fake. The compounds are not real. This is happening. That's causing your natural hormone production to get stunted, and it's actually not going back into range. It's a bunch of shit that can go wrong during a post-cycle therapy. But if you really are losing a lot of muscle, it's a warning sign, okay, that the PCT is not working, because you should be maintaining, you should be able to keep the majority of the gains you got from your cycle. And if you're losing them, something's going wrong. Now you want to transition post-PC. Another good thing to do, slowly increase the volume and calories as natural production fully rebounds. This is when you can get back up into a good range and good progression after the PCT is completed. You want to remember that patience is key. Rushing back into heavy training can prolong recovery. Don't be impatient. I know a lot of people that hop on this shit probably, okay, I was impatient when I hopped on. A lot of people want fast as fuck results. Does that mean you're impatient? Maybe. Does that mean that you're just smart and you want to utilize compounds to get gains quicker? Yes, could be as well, right? But just always remember, patience is key. You don't want to rush into shit. Slow and steady wins the goddamn race, and that's the fact with anything in life, especially this, okay? You're going to get results probably 5 to 10x quicker than a natural, but it still is a slow and steady game if you're trying to do this the healthy way, right? Now, last up here is key reminders. So nutrition and supplements are not substitutes for PCT. Okay, always follow properly set up protocols. Always do this. Make sure that your protocol is absolutely set up for your specific needs. Everyone's different genetically. Avoid alcohol and processed foods. You should be doing this regardless on a goddamn cycle. Never mix partying, never mix drinking, never mix rec drugs with goddamn your cycle or your post-cycle therapy. It can cause problems. Avoid processed foods as well. They impair liver function and hormone balance during recovery. Just stick to a healthy diet. It's going to make a world of difference. If you're eating a shitty diet, you're going to feel like shit and you're not going to see the best results, okay? So you really have to focus on your diet with this shit. If pre-existing conditions, example like thyroid problems, pop up, Tailor your nutrition with professional input. Very important. Focus on sustainability. Your post-cycle therapy nutrition sets the stage for long-term health, not just short-term preservation. This is very important. And here we go here. Most important point here. The goal is full recovery with this. Prioritize health over aesthetics to ensure safe future cycles. Okay? You want to make sure that you're always fully recovering from this shit. You don't want to halfway recover, a quarter of the way recover, hop right back into a cycle, and now you're in that never-ending loop where you're never going to be able to fully recover. You will always have to take TRT, and if you ever decide you don't want to do this again, it could be years of fucking recovery, which means that you pretty much aren't going to be able to, because years of feeling like shit, it's just not going to work. When you have a job, you have a family to take care of, you're not going to be able to do that. Okay. The goal is full recovery. Always prioritize your goddamn health over what you look like in that given moment. Health is everything. Later on down the road, when you start running into complications because of decisions you made today, you're going to look back and say, what could I have done different? Oh, I could have done my fucking cycle. I could have waited to hop back on a goddamn cycle. I could have done my PCT properly and I would have been fine. But now you have to deal with these problems. Okay, that's a hypothetical situation, but that could be your reality if you don't prioritize your goddamn health here. Okay, and that's why I'm making the boot camp, because it's so important to prioritize your health. Now that's going to be it for this section. Kind of a boring section, but definitely needed. Now, next up, we're going over the mental game during post-cycle recovery, handling your mood, motivation, and libido drops. This is something that a lot of people bypass, as well as section 16. Okay, it's very important to understand how this is going to affect you mentally, because this is really what causes that addiction loop where you hop on a cycle and then you just end up hopping back on another one, or you just never come off. That's why there's an ongoing joke in the community where like people that are new, they're like, okay, I'm just going to hop on a cycle, get gains, and never take it again. It's only one cycle, bro. Don't worry. I'm just going to hop on one. Everyone laughs because they know that's not true. 95% of people that get on are going to take another cycle just because of this specifically. So this is a very important section, and we will be going into this very soon. Guys, like and subscribe if you like this shit. Comment if you have questions. I'm still responding to all the comments on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to be back probably tomorrow with this next episode, and we'll crank these out the next few days. All right, guys, peace.